in that case, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming out on this beautiful evening. And then we'll get started in the meeting. Like I said, the minutes are from the last meeting are in your packet. If I have a motion to approve those, I'll take that. If you have any questions or if you have any objections to what's in the minutes, I can also address that. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We are approved. Well, I'm Mike Snap, I'm the president of the board. Again, thank you all for coming. I would make comments, except I think there's more important things to talk about. I'll get to some comments later, but I want to, we introduced you to Chet Haney. I'd like Chet to talk about the Friends of Mill Creek.
Thanks, Mike. Is it okay if I use a corner here?
Sure.
So I'm also president of the Solomon Civic Association, so I commiserate with Mike with his great job as, but it's people can't run up and slap you on the back and do a great job you're doing. But anyway, thanks for letting me come in. I'm just going to be really brief about what we're trying to accomplish with the Friends of Mill Creek Watershed Group. I'm going to leave these brochures, these little pamphlets outside, rather than hand them out to everybody, so pick one up if you want one, if you're interested. But let me just read you our mission statement, which will just get real brief and give you just a little bit of a sense of what we're trying to accomplish here. We live in this beautiful area, and we want to just try to make sure it stays that way. And as I said at one time, I don't want to look at I live right across the creek, on Back Creek, and I don't want to look at my window one day and go, what happened, to this beautiful place. So it's just a matter of asking, trying to engage all of us, who live in this beautiful place, to just pay attention and and advocate for those practices that will help keep our waterways swimmable and fishable. So our mission is basically to be action-oriented and inclusive, engaging a broad community support, which is why I'm here tonight, from residents, landowners, watermen, business owners, and developers in being stewards of our natural resources. We'll focus on science, be informed by data, and act on results. We'll accomplish this work while honoring the rich history of our watershed region and being diligent in protecting its future. So that's who we are. We're affiliated with the American Chestnut Land Trust, which is up on Dares Beach Road. And so there are about 24 watersheds in Calvert County in a small area. We're all surrounded by water, infused with streams and creeks and all of those things. So there are two other, so the ACLT coordinates Friends of Watershed groups. So there's a Friends of Hunting Creek Watershed, there's a Friends of St. Leonard Creek Watershed, and then I was asked to begin a group down here called the Friends of Mill Creek. And so Mill Creek Watershed is Mill Creek, St. Johns Creek, Back Creek, Solomon's Harbor, all of the water around us. So what we just basically do, we sponsor events, we give information, we look at what best practices are, and some of the big pieces that we try to accomplish is work with like homeowners groups. What are we doing as a community, to pay attention to those good practices that make sure that we keep, our waterways clean and improve. And we also collect data. So we do water sampling at different places back. And we just started back after the beginning of last year. So we're the newest watershed group here. But we collected water samples around different areas that kind of measure runoff. And, thank goodness we have one of the greatest places in the world to work with, and that's the lab, who does all the water, and they've been doing it for years and years down there. So we use their resources and measure water quality. So, Lake Lariat, the golf course, and some of the runoff, and I'm a golfer, some of the runoff, of the golf golf course goes right into Lake Lariat. Lake Lariat feeds right into Mill Creek. And so we do some water sampling to see what that is. And the news is not all bad, but it's just a matter of paying attention to it, doing it, testing on a regular basis, using the lab to share results. We do paddles, we do dinners, we do a lot of different events. So I'm just, I don't want to go too long because I could talk more. But what we're asking is some of the smaller pieces, you know, as an educator, as I said, we want to work from big groups like community organizations, homeowners groups, you know, Oyster Bay, Drum Point Road, you know, Dow Road and Drum Point, Solomon's Landing, all of the marinas. What we're asking basically, and we talked to the board before about, you know, signing on as just to be a partner, just say that you support the mission, you're going to pay attention, you're going to help us work on keeping this place the beautiful place, and one of the reasons probably we're all, you know, sitting in this room tonight, you know, is that we want to enjoy what's behind us out here and make sure that it stays that way. I'm a grandparent, probably many of you are as well, parents, and we want to make sure that they can enjoy it the way we have. So that's basically, you know, what we're trying to accomplish. I'm going to leave, because I don't want to take up all your meetings, but I'm going to leave some brochures out there, and you can find out more about our group. What I'd really like, and I didn't want to take up the time, but if you would, maybe Mike, somehow you could facilitate this, but give them my email address is on the back. What I'd like to do is those of you that would like to be on our list, you know, so that when we do send out information, that you get it and be engaged at that level, we would appreciate that.
We put a link on our website.
Yeah, so I found this is very timely. I found this article in the paper, in Sunday's paper. And so when we talk about big pieces like big homeowners groups and engaging marinas, you know, to be our partners as well. And being a partner, you know, we're not asking you for money or anything like that. Just say we support, you know, the mission of what you're trying to accomplish. All the way down to, and I started to say, and kind of lost my train of thought, but as an educator, I want kids to understand. You know, I'm working with some of the schools down here, the high school, middle school, and the elementary schools in our community to do kind of an action research project, you know, to get kids out, you know, in the environment so that they understand at a very young age, you know, what their responsibilities are. It might just be recycling and things like that, keep plastic out of the water and those kinds of ideas, and then, you know, move up to a more sophisticated kind of water sampling data analysis when you get into the high school level. So, but also this very simply, and Mike, I don't know if you can send it out to your membership, but it was a link that just talks about what you can do, you know, and I mean, I don't want to get too kind of esoteric here about the monarch butterfly, but it traced this thing and said, you know, if you have a big lawn like I do, it said a window box can be an oasis for a monarch butterfly, where a lawn, a beautiful green lawn, is a desert, you know, for that type of migration. So just little things like that, and what we can do, you don't have to live on the water to feel a responsibility or take a responsibility for our waterways. And that's probably one of our central pieces of our mission, to let everybody know we all have a responsibility in this place. That's all I want to say. I probably took too long. So.
Anybody have any?
Yeah, anybody have any questions for? Yes.
What is the current state right now of Mill Creek in terms of swimmability, or what's the forecast for swimmability?
So we actually, and I'm not, you know, I'm an elementary educator, but I'm learning all the time about the science. We had a kind of a webinar like event with Dr. Polsky, who's our health officer in the county, who talked about that. And the swimmability right now really, and he said actually, if it's summertime with a tremendous amount of heat for over a long period of time, it's probably not a good idea to be in there, especially, you know, the Vibrio and, you know, open cuts and things like that. So, but it does raise awareness to pay attention to that. In other times where there's not, you know, those types of conditions, you know, I still swim, you know, in the creek.
Only-
But yes, but those are things that we're definitely paying attention to. Because I said, if we have that on our mission statement about swimmable and fishable, it's definitely fishable. You know, I can catch, you know, fish right off my pier. Swimmable is another issue, and that's something we really need to pay attention to. We want to improve, you know, that long term.
What is the source of the mercury in Lake Lariat? And is it also in the runoff from
So those are data points, you know, that we do collect, you know, and so we have you go on the website and you'll see when you get on, it's done by ACLT Web, and it's all in the brochure if you pick one up. But we have the results of if you're really into data, you can really immerse yourself into, you know, what the results were. Mercury is one of the things they measure for, you know, the nitrogen, you know, levels and that type of thing are another thing. I'm learning, and I'll learn with you, I hope, you know, as we move forward about those things we need to pay attention to. But we're really looking for volunteers, you know, if you would send me your email address and I'll add you, we probably have 50, 60 people now on our distribution list, which is great. And we'll be publishing more events and things to be involved.
Has the source of the mercury been identified?
You know, that's above my pay grade, which is 0. So, but those are great questions, and just you asking that, make sure you put your email address, because I know we have a lot of expertise that we haven't tapped into. That's why I'm here tonight. So just trying to get more people engaged and participate.
Have you ever looked at like invasive species, like the snakeheads and bluecats and stuff like that? You know, where you
Yes, so I'm really glad you mentioned that, because we had, and we're kind of had to step aside from it, but we are planning actually an invasive species dinner.
there you go.
It's going to be a ticketed event, you know, we'll have a speaker, and to actually, what we're going to be doing is capturing the invasive species and eating them. How cool is that? By consuming them. So yeah, with blue catfish, snakeheads, and there's a number of greens, you know, that are also edible but invasive species as well. So to bring awareness to that, Josh, is what we're really trying to do, and that's going to be something we're really looking forward to, because we have a lot of expertise. I mean, I ran into at the Civic Association meeting, I did a similar thing. A woman came up to me and she wrote a book on invasive species. She did her doctoral work on invasive species. It was right over on the island. So, like I said, that expertise is here, and it's just a matter of trying to tap into.
Well, if you haven't had a chance to eat snakehead or blue cat,
Yeah.
it is delicious, both of them.
Yes, they are.
So don't be afraid of the name or the looks of it.
Right,
They're really good. Okay, so like I said, the contact information about the Friends of Mill Creek is on the website. We'll make sure we've got.
Yeah, my email's on there.
And then your email's in the brochure, so.
You know, the little barcode thing, you can go right to the ACLT website, you know, and find out all about that. So at Jefferson Patterson Park, speaking of invasive species, there's an actual invasive species festival Sunday at JPP. So I'm going to be there, you know, representing Friends of Mill Creek, and then CRAD, right across the creek, you know, is taking place as well, and we'll have a table there as well. So I hope to see, you know, some of you there, and you know, maybe engage at a deeper level as we move on. I'm going to put these out on the table.
Thanks again.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Hope to see you soon. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
So be sure to grab a brochure. I think it's a good effort. Okay, I'd like to go on now with our reports from our committee chair people, and also from Rhea, who keeps us all out of trouble. But Rhea, can you start off with an update on the office?
The office or on
Do you have anything in the office?
No,
Okay.
not in particular.
How about roads?
Roads, absolutely. Ready for that one. So paving is scheduled for, I was told the end of September, and we're about there now, so apparently it's gonna be the first part of October, so that. And anybody who lives on these streets should have received a letter from me. It's Anchor Drive, Mill Creek, Park Lane, Hilltop Drive, Calvert Court, and Calvert Drive, so up above Anchor primarily. It's Great Mills Trading Post again. It will be doing the work. Stormwater management jobs, some of you are on the list for a regrading of your swales and maybe the addition of some stones and so on for drainage. We have 6 estimates for 6 of those projects. They had to go to soil conservation first for their input. And project manager Chris Franklin is working on estimates for the other locations. The Laurel Way dry hydrant was repaired today. I don't know if any of you were here when we had the fire department come and do a little presentation over the summer, one of the meetings. And that pipe in the dry hydrant had been cracked, just my guess from old age. So that was replaced today. And Jake Heldenwood Construction Company did that, and they'll interact with the fire department to let them know and have them come out and do another fire inspection, or another inspection on it. Bay Drive Causeway was damaged last winter with the storm, a lot of erosion there. Took a long time to get permits in, that was done. Ward's Marine is doing that. But there's a delay in the work. Apparently they felt there was a little more erosion, and we're waiting for an updated proposal from them for 50 feet of work. That's basically it for roads.
Where was that again?
Bay Drive Causeway, New Bay Drive.
Oh, Bay Drive.
Yeah.
Okay. At that corner.
It's at the corner,
Yeah.
coming down into Bay Drive off of the lake,
Yeah, before you get to, like Kerman.
Yeah.
next to the Kerwin property.
It's on the right, and Amy Grissman's is on the left there. That's it.
Yeah, some of these, they're, because some of our funding comes from the county and the SCD and the state and the SURE funds. Where there are some things we have to do, about making sure we have, at least go out for competitive bids. We may not get them, but at least we have for some value, higher value stuff, we have to do that. So that's part of the whole process.
Can I back up now that I thought about it for a second?
Sure.
Well, it's here, I just didn't think about it being in an office report. Oktoberfest is looking for volunteers, it's on the 9th of October. I'll send out another email, I sent one last week. But they're looking for people to take, a little bit of time, at the beginning to do setup of tables or, help to grill. Some of you guys are experts, right? Things like that. So I'll send that an email, I'm gonna send it out tomorrow. Just send me a response if you're able to help at all. It'll have the different shifts that they're looking for help on. And then Saturday, you've already gotten an email on this as well, October 1st is the cleanup day. But the weather looks uncertain, so I guess we'll play that by ear and watch for an email, to cancel it. If it's going forward, then I probably won't send an email.
As a Drum Point president, can I make a plug for Oktoberfest?
Yes, you may.
Well, we're going to have a local sensation playing, a band called the Flippin' Eyelids. So they're a great band, play all kinds of music, and really well known in the area. They played all the venues, and they've got their own bus, so they got to be pretty good. So, and we're going to have them play here, so we're really excited to have them. I hope everybody
I
can.
actually did put a link on the email I sent last week about that, and to the website, and in the newsletter, the link is listed as well.
It's bring your own beer, right?
Yes, BYOB, but we'll
But
have
there's food there.
food
There'll be food and soft drinks. Water.
and lawn games.
So, with a name like Flippin' Eyelids, you gotta come out just to see what it's about.
Flip it around.
But you're right, I mean, they're supposed to be good.
Love bus.
I haven't seen them, but they're supposed to be good. Okay, anything else for you? Jack, we'll talk about finance. Jack Andres, our finance chairman. Treasurer.
You have our latest reports, budget reports to look at. One thing at the top though would be to look at the audit. Our annual audit is posted on the website, PPPOA website, so you can see that. There's little happening, we're pretty early in the fiscal year, so you won't see much in these. But we remain in pretty good financial shape in general. We've got some big bills coming up. The paving will be our biggest annual budget. That'll be about $185,000. We've got plenty of provisions for that. We also have one other item that we have, you'll see on the balance sheet, is provision for the beach erosion control. I think we've got 24,000 in there. So I think we'll talk about that later. When we have approvals for that, we'll be able to start to work there too. So financially, all our work is covered and we're in pretty good shape. Any questions?
Thanks, Jeff. Maggie, do you have anything on the safety committee? Oh, so there. You were hiding behind that mask.
We all know that hurricane season is upon us, so we want to be as prepared as we can here at EPPOA. I met with another member of the committee up at the office, and we sorted a lot of things and removed some things that just aren't necessary anymore. And I will be replacing some items that are necessary to put into what we call the to-go bags. So we certainly want to be able to work with our other emergency services here in the county, as well as, heaven forbid, FEMA gets involved. So we are on the path to get prepared for that. Any questions?
How about environment, Jenny or Bonnie?
I'll start out and then I'll hand it off to Jenny.
Okay.
Our invasive species expert is going to start spraying in a few weeks, during the next few weeks, weather permitting. The remnants of the Phragmites that we haven't managed to eradicate so far, but also a new stand that Ginny actually found out near the boat ramp. So that's going to be happening in the next few weeks. I'll turn it over to Ginny, but this is not environmental necessarily, but you want to say a few words about the webpage for the neighborhood?
Oh, yeah, it's not affiliated with
It's not
the
an
association, but there is a Facebook group. It's called Drum Point Neighborhood, and it's a great way to connect with our neighbors. So if you're on Facebook, check it out. So, and the only thing I had about the environmental committee was the Ivy League is going to be starting up in November, and we're going to choose a lot in the next few weeks, and we'll let you know the exact date.
Some people may not know what it is.
Ivy is a killer of trees, and if you go through Drum Point, you'll just see so much ivy on the trees. So we started this last year, and we just go out and we do, I think it's called the window method, and you just clip at your waist length, and then you just go down to your knee lengths, and you just go around the tree, and you clip the ivy off the tree, and it saves the tree. So that's what we've been doing, and I've posted some pictures on the Facebook page that show what's good we have done in the past year. So anyway, so if you can join us, please do. We'll let you know when it's going to be.
And you might consider that for your own trees too.
Oh, yes.
You know, a lot of lots have these trees that are just getting choked with this ivy. So I'm sure Jenny can tell you how to do it. Basically, all you're doing is, like you said, clipping around, clipping it off. They don't die. They'll come down. You don't have to worry about trying to pull it down or anything. That'll help preserve the trees.
It also helps to stop the process because ivy that's growing as ground cover does not make viable fruit. But ivy that's growing up trees makes fruit that the birds eat and they crack somewhere, and that propagates the ivy.
Good point, yeah. So it's all good. So stay tuned for, once the tick season is over, Jenny can get out there and start whacking away at ivy.
That's right.
Okay. And let's see, welcome committee.
Yes, Cindy Andre continues to purchase items for that. We got a little bit of a budget, and she collects donations, the buckets and so on themselves for the welcome bucket. Many of the newcomers that are here tonight should have received a bucket by now, if not, stop in. It's going very well. Jenna continues to help assemble, and Susan is assembling, and Asha and Jenny assembling buckets. So it's been a pretty successful program as far as I'm concerned, because my main goal was to collect contact information, which I'm doing.
And don't forget the local merchants who donate to it too. That's,
Yeah.
they're, in most cases, we're not paying for hardly any of it.
No.
It's donated by some of the local
Most of it
merchants,
is,
so
yeah.
don't forget that. Okay, anything else, any other committee news or anything from anybody else? Okay. Well, the last committee is planning, and that encompasses primarily the work we're doing on the beach. So we're also looking ahead. John's volunteered to give us some suggestions on things he's been involved with in other communities that we might put into the longer range planning process. But right now, most of our efforts concentrated on the beach. You've been here at other meetings, you've heard us talk for longer than I care to about the restoration efforts on the beach and the preservation efforts. So let me tell you where we're at. We've had a contractor in place for over a year from Virginia that's done a lot of the design work on over like at Patch River, up at Jefferson Park, Asbury, and designing these breakwaters and spurs and things like that that help preserve the shoreline. So we've got a lot of expertise from them. And we've put together the project and we've, fine-tuned it, and I think we're about ready to go. The next steps are getting permits and things like that. We had also, if you remember, when we talked about the STD, we included some money in the STD, and it was approved to help support that restoration effort. At the time, we had already put in for a grant from the state, a matching grant from basically from DNR. But and we got the sad news recently that we were not funded in that grant. A couple reasons for it. Probably, to me, the biggest reason was they had 21 proposals for over $14 million. They had $2 million of funds. So figure it out. They had actually funded, they only funded like 5 of them that were, in most cases, even more money than ours. But the other second big factor that I guess worked against us is that they really put a high priority on projects that affected infrastructure. In other words, if it was a project that would protect roads or houses or buildings or public property or public assets and things like that, that was high on their priority list. So anyway, we didn't make it, but we got a good debrief from them, got some ideas on future efforts. If nothing else, a lead on how to apply for no interest loan, which would help just carry the project through. We have the funds to pay for it, but it would help in that as it's paid for over time. So we'll be pursuing that. The second thing that's been going on is going through the permit process. Now, if you think permitting, like for a little job on your house or an addition on your house is fun, try it for something like this. It's the whole process is kind of mind-numbing, and it's called the joint permitting process. And joint means Corps of Engineers, Maryland Department of Environment, Maryland DNR, and then eventually, if you get through all that, then you get to talk to the county and the state and other agencies. So we're in the process of that. The bureaucracy has baffled me. Well, it hadn't baffled me, I understand it, but, so we've been through the process. We've finally gotten, I think, a thumbs up from MDE and Corps of Engineers. Right now, it's, they had to publish a public announcement and, requests for comment or queries or protests or whatever. So that's in place right now. We're probably about a week into that. It's a 30-day process. So hopefully, here within the next month, we'll get some good news on that and be able to start planning the actual construction phase. So that's where we're at. It takes, like anything in the government, it takes about 3 times longer than you think it ought to, but we're starting to get there, I think. Any questions on that?
The plans, the plans themselves up on the website, I don't know, you've obviously gone through this a lot, but the actual planning, is it anywhere that is?
Well, I think that, yeah, I mean, we put some stuff on there. I had some prior meetings to put together a briefing package and stuff. I'll make sure, I think it's still on there.
It's still there.
Okay.
One of the links at the top, you'll see it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but it basically shows a diagram of what we're doing. It's essentially a spur that, well, a breakwater is an actual stone structure that's offshore. This is actually attached to the shore, but instead of being like a perpendicular jetty, it cuts across the opening to the beach, so it actually causes basically an eddy effect and helps preserve the sand in behind it.
Oh,
And it'll still allow you to be able to take a kayak out and all that kind of stuff. But I think it'll help us.
cool, thank you.
Okay, that's all I have on that then. New business, we mentioned the Oktoberfest, so be sure to catch the flippin' eyelids. And it's a fun event, so if you have an hour or something where you can donate just to help out a little bit, that helps everybody, and you get to know people. So that's good. Any other comments from the board? Public comments. And by the way, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, this is now an official meeting. We do have a quorum, so this will go down on the record. It's being filmed, so protect the guilty. And there's really nothing to vote on unless somebody makes a motion for some action from the floor, and then we might have to consider that. But Jenna?
We have some concern on Lake Drive and Lake Terrace. There's a new family that has moved in, and the children are playing out in the street. When you're coming up the hill towards Lake, you can see them, but when you're coming around onto Lake Terrace,
It's like place.
from Lake onto Lake Place, you may not be able to see them. And the other night, at night, the kids were running across the street and we came around and, the parents were sitting right there.
Yeah, that's my house. We actually have signs up on the side of the road that say slow.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything because you have signs sitting there. But when you come around that corner, your kids are running out. And heaven forbid, when you come around in the evening and you don't see them and someone gets hurt. And who's going to be blamed? Obviously, the driver.
Right,
But
so
I really think you need to somehow keep your children on the lawn, or the people across the street are never there, have them play over there, or what we'll do from now on.
Well, we're not actually,
is
we're not actually
Okay, wait a
allowed to
minute.
go.
Hold on. Jenna still has the floor, so let her finish, and then I'll open it up.
All right, and the only thing, like I have said, we come around there and they're running out. When you come around, and you can slam on your brakes, but I told my husband, from now on, when we go by, just honk our horn all the way down the road to let the kids know that we're coming. And buses go by there, trucks go by there, and I just think it's, you know, if you wanna do that, fine, and we'll just maybe have to go a different way out of the community. And that's your
Okay, comment back in the corner.
Yeah, well, so I think one of the main issues has always been, well, recently when we repaved, I guess the Lake Drive has been under the ownership of the state now. We put that yellow line down there, or whenever we paved Lake, or, well, Lake Drive was paved maybe a decade ago, and then we put a yellow line down in the middle of it, and ever since that's happened, the speed on that road has increased probably, double what it used to. People used to mainly go 25 miles an hour on that road, most people go 40, 45 sometimes. And coming around for a turn, generally, they're still speeding about 40 miles an hour going into Lake Place, and that's what really it is. We need to figure out a way to mitigate the speeding on that road, well, to mitigate what issues are.
Okay, just a minute. Anything else? Well, yeah, you had, she had her hand up. What's next?
I just want to say it's a valid concern, a child getting hit by a car, 100%. But I think if we have to slam on our brakes, that probably goes on the aspect of speeding. And my mom has lived in Drum Point for 37 years on Lake Drive, and I grew up on Lake Drive and played on the street with my bikes, with my sisters, and it was never an issue. I just think it's, things are more populated, and I think if kids have a friend across the street, they're gonna run across the street to their friend's house and they're gonna play and be kids. Like, we want them outside to play. We don't want them on technology. I'm a teacher. I feel super passionate about this because not only is it like kids that I know, but kids need to be outside playing. And I get that.
But in the dark, when you're coming around, you cannot see.
Yeah, just a minute.
And
I think, unfortunately, it's like.
Rhea had her hand up next.
So just a couple of things. First of all, nobody needs to be overly critical. It's not, they're just concerned about children. I just want everybody to know that. That's the primary concern. They don't want anybody to get hurt. Now, as far as the speeding on Lake, a few years ago, and I can check this out, we had the county highway department, and the association still maintains Lake. The stripe down the middle has nothing to do with the county or the state. But we had the county come and do an analysis, and we had, the radar detector to tell you how fast you're going. For like a couple of weeks it was there. And they did a study, and what they determined, and this is what we did, was that we needed more speed limit signs, which we put up. That's why there are so many on Lake. And that we should put a three-way stop at Pine and Lake, which we did, because that would slow people down if they stop. I can tell you about one property owner, he's not here, I will not name him, he refuses to stop at it, just out of principle. Fine. So that irritates me because, it was done for a reason. It wasn't just arbitrarily, hey, let's put stop signs up here. It was done because of what was recommended to us. So we did try to slow people down. I would suggest, it's hard. Call the sheriff's department. Ask them to step up their patrols. If they don't see it happen, they cannot write a ticket. Even if you get a license plate, even if you have a video of it, they will not write a ticket unless they see it. That's what I'm told.
So
Call the sheriff's department.
So is it a requirement for us to have, I just think mentally that yellow line creates some kind of, my mother-in-law has been on that road for 30 years, and I've been there. When that line got put down the middle and that road got wide, people started going fast.
That's not there anymore.
The yellow line?
Yeah, it's been gone.
There's no yellow line there.
I don't even know.
Oh, yeah, last time I don't remember, it was there.
I'm not sure who was next. I know you had your hand up.
There's no yellow line on Lake Drive. I live at 544, and there's no yellow line on Lake Drive. Anyway, I live at 544, and there's somewhat related issue. I've written a letter to Rhea. I actually should have been a little more specific. I mentioned the golf carts, but I really meant those golf carts operated by children. And
Well,
they,
okay, we'll talk about that.
okay, fine.
Separate.
Can I
But,
sign that too?
Yeah,
Sure.
okay, let me make a couple comments. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've lived there on Lake Drive since 1979, and I've seen all kinds of people go through there. Some of them come flying down the road and go down towards Lake Place and everything. Kids have been playing around there since '79. My kids played out there, you know. This is a community, it's not a retirement home, you know. The golf carts, yeah, quite a few more of them have increased, but in general, everybody's behaving themselves. You know, now, on Lake Drive, down towards, was it, Iroquois? There's a yellow sign that says "Children at Play." You know something about that?
Well, I talked with County Highway the other day because somebody wants a sign as you approach over to slow people down. Vereda Drive is where it should be. Vereda is county maintained. So I called about that. And in talking with the woman at the highway department, county, if you notice around the county, there are no slow children at play signs anymore. The state made them apparently illegal because what they said was it encourages kids to play in the street. Oh, I'm safe. The parent says, I'm safe. There, you're safe. Go play. And so I was going to bring this up at the next board meeting. I don't know how to find out if that involves a community such as ours with not private roads, but privately maintained roads.
Well,
So we might have to
this
come
is a-
under that state law.
Yeah, this is a new yellow sign that was put up as you're leaving, going out to Beretta.
That's because we've done that. But
And it's
Oh,
not
on
slow
Beretta, it's
children,
on
it's just
Beretta?
children.
Oh, I-
Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's on Lake Drive.
it's on Lake Drive. That's
Yeah.
one that we would have put up.
Yeah,
It's my understanding from talking with County Highway, the state no longer wants that. They took all them out, all of their signs in the county out. That say
Okay.
children at play.
can't we do that?
Well, we'll check in.
Let me check into, I'm trying to
Yeah.
check into it.
Yeah, because,
The
you know,
removal
that's
of
a
the
reinforcement for people to be
Allow the
aware
kids
and
to play
slow
in the
down.
street.
Yeah, we'll find out about the sign issue, and find out if
I
it's
don't think exactly.
legal or illegal or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jenny Duselaire, I just moved here. I'm curious, is there a community center or a playground or a place for kids to congregate so they're not right in the road?
Not in Drum Point.
Okay, maybe that would be something
We
for
studied the
consideration.
playground issue a few years ago, and what it basically came down to was the lawyers win. Okay? It's the liability problem. And it just got to be too hard. Now, if we wanted, you know, somebody wants to take that on again, but that's an issue, because we don't have one. You know, the nearest ones are the county, what,
Right.
you know, the county provides. So, you know, there are places like that for kids, but you can't expect kids to always go there. I mean, there's, you know, transportation or everything
No, but
else.
in a community this
But-
size, and there's a lot of families, you know, my family's age and my children's age, it would be nice to maybe revisit that as an option, see what it would take.
Okay, we can, yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, you know, we spent over almost 2 years looking into the playground question, and it really became just absolutely impossible. But in truth, I don't think we were looking at the playground as something that would somehow miraculously take children away from the front of their house. Because if a child has about 15 or 20 minutes between when he gets off the school bus and has to do some homework or something, they're not going to go to the playground. They're going to play in front of the house. We are a community that the demographic is changing. We have a lot of small children. We just have to tell people to slow down and watch for children. I grew up in the middle of a city. Philadelphia is not a small town. Guess where we played? In the street. The park was 2 blocks away. We played in the street in front of the house. Everybody has to slow down. That's all.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay, yes, ma'am.
So I'd like to piggyback on that, because it's not just children, but it's folks who walk their dogs, it's folks who take walks. There are all kinds of people who are on the road. And I think as a community, and there's been several times I've come here and talked about the speeders that are riding on the road, and actually we put a sign up for us on our road, and for children at play, because I've been very concerned about that.
That may have to come down.
And so I guess my point is that if this is a private community, and we are taking responsibility for these private roads.
They're not private roads.
Or we maintain them, we pave them, we put signs on them.
They're public roads that are privately maintained.
Okay, so, but we put stop signs up where we think we should, we put signs up about children where we think we should. We take responsibility for those roads. So there are a couple things. One, Tony says slow down. Every single person here, slow down. Because my neighbors drive fast, we all have to take that personal responsibility. But the other part is, as a community, on the website, in emails, we could take a proactive approach to really talking to people about slowing down. Because you're right, if someone hits a child, or a dog, or someone walking, it's a tragedy that we all are a part of. Not just the person that the kid was walking around, not just the dog owner, not just the person driving the car. That's what a community is about. And we have a problem in this community with speeding on our roads, straight up.
Right.
And if we don't do something about it, then that's part of the problem.
Very brief comment. Not only applies to cars, it applies to bicycles. I almost got hit one night when I was walking my dog by a cyclist that was coming way down, whipping around Lake Drive.
And it's also the newspaper delivery person.
Can I just add one thing?
Go ahead.
I think everybody in here, is probably driving pretty slowly, but sometimes I think, also, I'm not blaming it on the other, but I often see cars come by in our neighborhood, and I don't think they're cars of people that live in this neighborhood, and they often are zooming by, and I don't know how we deal with that, unless we call the sheriff or something.
Okay, well,
That's my house on the corner.
pardon me?
That's my house on the corner that's being mentioned. I'll do my best to keep my kids out of the street.
Well,
Especially the
and
young.
let me say, nobody's picking on you. And we're not picking on your kids. We're just worried about your kids getting hurt. And I think we're all kind of focusing on speeding is a problem.
Yes.
She
Whether
said,
it's,
people come past our house to go down that hill just to look at the bay that don't live here.
right.
And then
So-
the man said right here about the three-way stop at Pine, put one at Lake.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna ask Rhea to start crafting a letter to the sheriff. It's gonna reference this community meeting. And it's gonna reference the public community concern over speeding in our neighborhoods.
Yes.
And we're gonna try to push them to step up their patrols. And if there's key areas like that are more of a problem, I'm lucky, I live on a dead-end street, so we don't get too many people speeding through there. But I can appreciate your situation and some of the other more thoroughfare roads. And we'll lean on them. And I don't know if we'll be successful. That's part of the problem. People think we can enforce these things. We can't. It's got to be the sheriff. And so we'll lean on, maybe since it's an election year, maybe we'll have some better success. I don't know.
I do think you're right. We
Second,
can-
somebody behind you has been trying, she's been patient.
So the speed limit is the county for all of our streets?
Pardon me?
Are the speed limit posted signs the county is controlling the speed limits in our community?
Well,
Or are those,
we post the signs.
okay,
But
I
there is a-
definitely don't think it should be
Park Lane
25
there.
over
So
the
there's
rest.
a minimum, again, my understanding is that there is a minimum that's allowed to be posted, and 25 is that minimum.
Okay,
Unless you have you're approaching a curve, and now you're gonna recommend slow down 10 miles an hour, something like that. And a few years ago, this is not a new problem. It's getting worse perhaps, but it's not new. A few years ago, a sheriff's deputy said that they are hesitant to write a ticket at 25 because they go to court, the judge often throws it out. So now they've spent their time, not just with the ticket writing, but they have to be at court, they have paperwork and so on. So they're hesitant to even write a ticket at 30, until it's above 30. So,
Yeah, I was just saying, I don't think it should be the same speed limit on Beretta that it is on our streets. I think that the
Well-
street should at least say 15, because people are gonna go 30.
But the state doesn't, they have a minimum, and that minimum is 25.
Yeah, but can't you recommend a slower speed limit?
What about speed recommended?
Well, we can look into it. I don't know the answer to that. Go ahead. Pete had his hand up. Sir, did you have something?
Yeah, Solomon's Island has 15 miles an hour on the inside.
On the back street?
On the back street.
I'll check it, I'll check it.
Let's find out, let's find out. Maybe there's areas we can target with lower limits. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I'm not going to belabor it too much, I kind of like where this conversation is going. But just to give everybody some perspective, we were in their front yard playing a family kickball game. All adults there. The ball rolls out into the street. Somebody runs over the ball, never slows down, never stops, just keeps going. Doesn't even look.
It could have been a dog. It could have
So
been any
that's the
dog.
kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, I had my dog killed on the left. Person.
So that's, I
My
just
dog
want to give everybody that perspective. I'm a
Okay, well,
parent.
we hear,
That was 10 years ago.
I think we hear the concern, and
We all are.
we'll go after it. We'll try to work the sheriff, we'll try to find out about signage.
I'll see if it can be lowered.
But, you know, as parents.
And also lowering it and increased enforcement.
Both,
You know,
absolutely.
put up any sign and people ignore it.
No, no, that's why we're gonna write to the sheriff and demand that they focus on this issue, and we're gonna reference the community concern here.
Like Dawn's had her hand up like 5 times.
Yeah.
No, just a quick question, I think it goes to you, Maria. When we're at an intersection, and because of the growth, before we have the drought, it's so lush this summer, that there are some intersections that you gotta pull way out. Do we call you and say, hey?
Yeah, call
because it may
me,
be
and I'll talk to
private
Joe.
Yeah.
Joe's here.
Or what if it's a private property that there are bushes hanging over?
It's a
Like on
10 to
Laurel
15 foot
Lane.
right of way off the edge of the
Okay,
asphalt.
so it's
Private
you
property.
Yeah, if you have areas that you know or have, call Rhea and we'll get our, you know, we'll get it turned back.
Yeah.
What about speed bumps?
That's it.
I mean, Code Point, at the end of Code Point, their community, they have them. School buses go over that all day long.
Yeah.
It's not a transportation issue with school buses, they will still come through. So, I mean, how do we approach that?
Well, one of the problems with the speed bumps, we tried that years ago. And the snowplow people,
Could it be those temporary rubber wise ones that you can remove after a certain period of time? You know, just to like gain awareness that there might be speed bump there, and you slow people down, and you can run the rubber speed bump. I mean, there's, you can lay them out for maybe a month or two, to slow people down for a while. Just a suggestion.
Well, we'll look at that too, but there are other issues involved with that. It's not as easy as that. Go ahead.
Would you consider putting together a committee that might be able to welcome some of these suggestions, and then it could be kind of all put together and then researched, and then maybe at the next meeting, because it's obviously a big touch point. And then we could just have a place to give our ideas, and then folks could research that and really come up with answers to why not speed bumps, or why not signs, or what is the real speed
No, that'd be
limit?
very helpful.
Yeah.
All right. Are you volunteering?
Yeah. I'd be happy to volunteer.
That would be good, that would be good.
I'll go there.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another, you know, instead of speed bumps like they have in Alexandria, there's speed humps. It's enough where the snow plows can go through and raise it up enough, but it allows
It's a
people.
longer slope. So
Yeah,
it's
so it's
they
not
call
a hard.
They call it traffic calming.
Yeah.
Speed plateau.
well, different places call it different things, but, yeah, so those are the kind of things we can look at.
What about the signs, I don't know how expensive they are, but you know, where they light up and they protect your speed?
We had that, 2 years ago, the county brought that in on Lake Drive because people had been driving so fast and that's.
So the county will do that?
The county will do that for us. I
There
don't know that they'll leave it there indefinitely.
there are also technologies that they will give you your speed and it will send like a PDF to someone's inbox with a picture of them speeding.
I don't know if the county has that kind of technology.
We'd have to buy it.
Oh, we would have to.
We'd have to buy it. But, and the homeowners association would own it. They would register your speed, it would take a picture of you, and then it would send a picture with the narrative to someone's inbox, wherever.
Yeah, but you have to, in order to do that, you have to be able to identify the license plate and identify who that goes to, and we don't have that ability.
You would be able to do it with the homeowners would have to sign on to it. The public would.
Well, okay, those kind, you can consider that kind of stuff, and, you know, in looking at this and studying it. But I still want to settle there with the sheriff and focus on this problem and try to get them, energized.
We should invite a deputy.
Well, we can do that. December meeting. Try to do that. You can lay into it. But, okay. I definitely hear all of your concerns. And I think there's always, like everything else, there's two sides. And you can't confine the kids. We don't have places where, kids can just have access to anything. On the other hand, we have to teach our, we have to teach our kids, some responsibility too when they're out on the roads. If they're on, like you referenced a bicycle is a vehicle. When a bicycle's on the road, it is a vehicle. It's subject to the same laws. There's some leeways about where you can ride and so forth, but you're still a vehicle. And that would pertain to other, I don't know how far down that goes. It's probably going to go down to little battery operated cars. But, it's part of teaching our kids, when you're out in the street doing things like that, think of yourself as a vehicle. Let's do it right. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments?
Can I add one final word? This is obviously a highly emotional issue. Everybody cares about it a lot. We're all talking about it. Take the message home. Talk to your neighbors. Talk up the fact that everybody thinks people are driving too fast. And talk about it. Be a nebbish. Constantly nag at it. Maybe it'll work.
And
because a lot of this other stuff won't.
Right. And until we'll focus on the sheriff ourselves. But if you see somebody, especially if they're repeat offenders, call the sheriff. They have to log those calls, and they have to, even if they can't get out there in time to catch them, they have to log the calls, and they have to, that gives you some record that you have complained about the problem.
There are two negatives with that. The first is that in Maryland, if you make a complaint, it will not be recorded unless you identify yourself, usually with a driver's license. The second item is if someone makes a complaint, anybody can go and it's now a public record and they can find out who made the complaint. So those two issues dissuade many people from making.
And you have to weigh that. You have to weigh that risk and everything else.
Talking to your neighbor doesn't, you don't have to give your name.
Right. Well, yes, that's.
We all grew up in the streets, in busier streets than what we have here. But what I've noticed on our street is we just recently have gotten some children here. We haven't had many children, we've gotten children. The minute they see a car coming down that street, those kids beeline for the grass. And so kids also have to help a little bit, because these kids are so lucky, they just beeline for that grass, and they wait there and they wave and let us go by. So, I mean, we have to be conscious, and the children as well. But I feel for them, I know it's fun.
Okay, any other fun topics?
Back there that had his hand up and then way back.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Was there anything else on this speeding problem?
I have, I just talked to an assistant sheriff and I'll have information regarding that for Rio tomorrow.
Okay,
I never talked about it.
all right, good. Okay, sir.
Yes. I'll say speeding golf carts, but there are a lot of children out there operating golf carts. And in fact, some of them aren't even golf carts, some are actually little battery operated vehicles in the streets. And
Well,
I know that people want to have, their families have golf carts, but they're illegal. It's like, just like speeding.
Well, okay, we've talked about this before. Again, this is another one of these problems that we don't have any jurisdiction. Okay, however, there are rules about golf carts and low-speed vehicles, and it's all called out in the Maryland codes. A true golf cart that is not registered, not licensed, operated by a kid is illegal. Call the sheriff. We can't do anything.
But we can be proactive. though.
Yeah. Well, you can talk to people and stuff.
No, I don't mean we, I mean the board can be proactive while writing about speeders, about golf carts.
Well, we
It's-
can
it's the same
mention
issue.
it. We've done that, and we basically, it's like butting your head into the wall. We can mention it again, but,
Are there seatbelt, helmet rules, Mike, do you know? I don't know anything.
well, okay, so, first off, if it's really a golf cart and it doesn't have a license plate on it, regardless of who's driving it, it's illegal, period. Okay? However, there are what they call low-speed vehicles, which look just like golf carts, and probably are. There's some distinctions about how fast they can go and not go, and all kind of stuff. But those are legal. If they are licensed, insured,